Obiora Okonkwo steps into the hall, ready to submit himself to the clearance exercise. Despite the rather strict process, Okonkwo hopes to scale to the next step.
They were satisfied with, uh, with my responses. Yes, both the questions outside the regulatory documents and then general questions. And from all the interactions we've just had, it's a reconfirmation and affirmation that PDP wants to win Anambra.
The party screening committee, led by the former governor of Kogi State, Idris Wada, while speaking to the aspirants, insists on not jumping the gun in ensuring that the party's rules and regulations are strictly followed.
We have not been told anything by anybody. We are going to follow the regulations and the guidelines, the Constitution, as Edwards has stated. We are going to be diligent, we are going to be thorough, and we are going to be honest and transparent.
But as fingers remain crossed, political observers hope that the exercise will remain free and untainted by sharp practices.
Thank you very much, Osil, being there with us. Yes, we have Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, frontline governorship aspirant in the upcoming Anambra governorship election, here with us. Good to have you here. Welcome.
It's always my pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, as we saw in that report, you presented yourself yesterday at the PDP's National Secretariat in Abuja.
That's
for
correct.
Screening. Yes. So how did it go?
Oh, it really went well. We first had general briefing with a committee of 5, and then they chose the number of aspirants that were due for tomorrow, and that was just from the basis of returning of this, completed forms. So I was number 2 in the list, and we went there. We answered the questions. Is basically presenting the official and original certificate of every document you had submitted. And then the other question is really to tell the committee how prepared you are to win the election for the party if you are given the ticket. So this is basically the summary of that. And I think it went well.
A lot of people are also, curious about the numbers we have here for the PDP alone. We are just talking about, I know Anambra is typical with numbers of people coming out during elections to contest for particular positions, especially for the position of the governor. But in the PDP, you have more than a dozen.
Well, we have more than a dozen, yes, but sometime in the past we had up to 50. So even at that, this is not too much. But it's also a sign that the party is vibrant in the state and quite active. At the end of the day, surely only one candidate will emerge. So we are thinking that maybe towards the primaries, there might be need for political recalibrations and alliances. But if that's not the case, if all the we are 16 as are today, if those succeed in the screening, then the 16 aspirants will face themselves in the party primaries.
All right, you no doubt among several sons and daughters of Anambra State, and indeed the south eastern part of this country, who have done very well in private business. Why are you interested in politics, and why are you interested in becoming the governor of Anambra State?
That's an interesting question. First of all, I have studied the political ecosystem and landscape in Nigeria. And it seems that it has been generally accepted that governance and leadership is not for those who have engaged themselves in certain private enterprise, established themselves in that, shown competence and capacity in that area. So sometimes when you come up in this manner, questions like yours do come up. Why? You have a thriving business. Why do you want to go and spoil your hands? Well, you see, if we continue to feel comfortable in our own private comfort zone, a lot of things will continue to go wrong. I think governance and leadership is a very, very important aspect of our life. Today, you've just finished a program where you are talking about insecurity, bad investment, climate in Nigeria. It's not enough to just say it and everybody go home and do nothing about it. It will only take somebody from private sector who knows the feelings, who knows the gap you have to fill from that sector, and then the leadership. What in the East, for instance, you have a lot of individual businessmen who have established themselves in the highest level. They have succeeded and compete internationally. But governance, we are not getting it right. So bringing in a private sector experience in governance in Nigeria, both in the state and the federal, will make a whole lot of difference, because it comes with a proven capacity, especially if you have established yourself. It comes with a proven capacity. It comes with courage. It comes with prudent management of resources, both material and human. All right? And then that's, I think, what we need to bridge in the gap of this bad governance. So that's what I am bringing. I have a choice not to, but if not me, who? And I think that my coming in would obviously, maybe if I succeed, I know a whole lot of people are watching what will happen in Anambra. But mind you, I'm not just only coming from the private sector. I am also coming from the academia, because I have also the qualification at the highest level. So I can be that bridge, you know, between those aspects of our society. And if I bring it into governance, it will give me access to those human capital resources that we have both in the entrepreneurial sector and the academia, combined with everyday people to make Anambra a better place.
All right, let's find out just really how the reception has been so far. I know you've been touring a number of constituencies, villages and hamlets in your state to mobilize support and feel the pulse of the people. Let's find out from this package how it's been so far.
These are jubilant PDP leaders and statutory delegates from Obaru and Oyi local government areas for the forthcoming party primaries to decide who will fly the PDP flag in the November 2021 Anambra State Governorship elections. They could not hold back their excitement as they welcomed Obiora Okonkwo, a leading aspirant for the PDP governorship ticket. Okonkwo, who was accompanied by his campaign team, could not hide his feelings. He told the party executives that his purpose of visiting was to inform them of his intention to contest for the sole ticket of the party, solicit for their support, and ask for their votes during the party primary election.
I am thankful for your attention. Obaru is a strong place for PDP. We are happy to be here. We extend our gratitude to the great leaders of the party in this town. We are assuring you that your mandate in our hand will be used effectively to secure victory for PDP in Anambra, and then deliver on the promises and enshrine PDP as a new party in Anambra State for a very, very long time to come.
High point of the visit was a presentation of gifts, a symbolic aquatic fish and ram to Obiora Okonkwo by the PDP faithfuls from Obaru and Oyi Council areas. Earlier in the day, the Obiora Okonkwo campaign team had honored an invitation by Reverend Father Emmanuel Obimma, popularly known as Ebube Monso, where a new international school, the Holy Ghost British Academy, Obosi, was commissioned. The PDP leaders and statutory delegates from Nnewi South and North Council areas welcomed Obiora Okonkwo. Some of the leaders and delegates who spoke in Igbo thanked Obiora for the visit and promised not to disappoint him at the PDP primary elections.
Your best friends for this governorship is High Chief Dr. Obiora Okonkwo. I'm a believer in capacity. It's election now. We want election now. Of all the parents, I'm very down to them. And I want to tell you that Obiora Okonkwo is motivated.
Obiora Okonkwo told the party executives that his purpose of visiting was to inform them of his intention to contest for the sole ticket of the PDP in order to fly the party's flag in the November 2021 governorship election.
Any governor you should be looking out for is that governor that will be one governor for the entire Anambra state. We have paid so much price for the vision, and we must not allow those people to divide us anymore.
High point of the visit was the presentation of gifts, a symbolic crown to Obiora Okonkwo by the PDP faithfuls from the two council areas.
All right, a special package there which chronicles the political consultations of the man Obiora Okonkwo, a PDP aspirant ahead of the Anambra Governorship election in November. We still have Obiora Okonkwo in the studio. You seem to be enjoying a lot of goodwill and admiration from the people. Would you say you are a grassroots person?
Oh, yes. To a very large extent, I am. I have been involved in political activities for quite a long time. I've been involved in obviously, philanthropic act, and I've been relating with the people, and that is evident in the number of the traditional titles I have within Anambra State. I think more than anybody alive or dead. You know, when a whole senatorial zone, the traditional leaders come together to appreciate you for what you mean to their communities and the state, not one, not two, the entire senatorial zones in Anambra State at different times had recognized me with traditional title, which automatically makes me a citizen of every kingdom in Anambra State. It goes a long way to show that I am identifying with all nooks and corners of Anambra State. In our place, it means a whole lot, you know, because one way to appreciate who you are and what you have done is to recognize you with a title. So with that, which is a fallout of my activities, my acts in every part of Anambra State, it's a typical grassroots. In terms of politics, what you've just seen is a tour of the local government areas, and I'm in touch with them. I'm closely with the party at all levels. Apart from identifying with the party officials, I have my representatives in all the wards and local government, and we engage in different party activities from time to time. So that keeps me in touch with the party at all levels.
All right. Most times when politicians contest for political office, it's about what they want to do for the people. But the flip side of it is, what do the people want? I know you've put out what is called My Project for Anambra, which you've captured your 10-point agenda and what you need to achieve in the state. From the consultations you've been making so far, what do Anambra people actually want?
Okay. Very interesting question. The 10-point agenda we got out of a well-researched need assessment of the state, each community, coming out of a good knowledge of Anambra State. And it's not as grandiose as some people might be referencing Taiwan, Dubai, Hong Kong, or looking into 50 years agenda. Yes, there should be a long-term planning. I don't have a problem about that. But it is based on the immediate, short-term, medium-term needs of Anambra State. So we've studied that. And in fact, we had also requested for a feedback from each community. And at the end of the day, we realized that major in the needs of Anambra State is, one, reorientation, bringing back our ethics and values. This is a state that is predominantly Christian. Strong cultural values and ethics that is anchored on our religious and traditional belief. We find out that when we talk about youth activities today, insecurity, drugs, and all that, it may not necessarily be that these people do not have work to do or that they don't have opportunities. Some of them have had opportunities, they have touched money, they are from families that can support and help them. They have been exposed to one type of job or the other. But because those values that is of an able man is no more of relevant, they have no heroes which they adore. Our national item has it, remembering the heroes past. Role models are no more issues because they are either not available or they don't see them as also part of life. So having looked at that, that is why we have it as one of our critical agenda in our 10 points.
Okay, so you talk about social and economic agenda in your 10-point
Yes.
set out.
No, that's the ethics, the reorientation and ethics. We have social and economic agenda, social welfare.
Okay.
That's separate. Social welfare is actually, you know, you can only give jobs to so much. And in every community, there are those who cannot work. They cannot be productive. Maybe out of age, maybe out of, you know, physical ability or disability. Our 10-point agenda should be able to take care of those. So we have them.
Talk to us about this, because I've looked at it, a complete program of social and economic empowerment.
Yes.
A 10-point agenda of Dr. Obiora Okonkwo.
Yes.
Number one there is rapid rural development in Anambra State. What aspects are you looking at in terms of rural development in the state?
You see, Anambra, most of the communities in Anambra are fast developing. They are moving from rural to metropolitan. But you find out that this development process is not planned. There's no design. It is with all sorts of recklessness. And some of the communities that have been developed, we have also the urban renewal. The urban towns like Onitsha, Ogidi, my hometown, or Oka, they are being over-saturated. And the expansion plan that is taking place is also without any plan. So in our own rural development, we think that as much as we're able to bring development to the closer to the people, and that we intend to do through independent of the local government administration. I've just heard in one of your questions here, some people challenging the possibility of having independent local administration. It is possible. So we're bringing these things, rural development, through our local government administration, because we have promised that within 6 months, 1 year of coming into office, we're going to do local government election, which we've not had in Anambra for over 10 years. So with that, we're bringing development closer to the grassroots, closer to the people. We have some of these, our rural areas. They have agrarian lands, obviously, but these things are not being exploited. Government will have to support a process through private-public partnership that will bring development to these areas. We're going to make investment environment very, very conducive. You've just talked about how much capitals are flying out of Nigeria, how much investment decisions are taken outside Nigeria. It is correct. Any investor will want to look for a suitable environment where you have all the necessary factors that aid investment. We are bringing it into Anambra State, and with that done, it will help us also to, because the more the job of a government is not really to give job, it's to create enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive. We have a lot of Anambra people who are succeeding in different business activities all over the world. We're in touch with them. They are ready and prepared to think home in their own investment strategies. And that can only be done when the environment is right. That's why if you look at that point, we have also diasporan engagement. It's a huge factor for us. In fact, we're going to set up a special ministry of diaspora. Greater percentage of productive population of Anambra is either living outside Anambra, within Nigeria, or living outside Nigeria. We're going to, in our own policy and the activities, engage them actively. Today we have liaison offices in Abuja and Lagos alone. We're going to open up engagement centers with them in most part of the world where they are concentrated, whether it's in London, whether it's America, and bring them closer to Nigeria. Let them know what the government is doing. Look at the repatriation that is coming into Nigeria from Western Union. It's huge money. The last time it was almost 20 billion US dollars. I can tell you that Anambra has about 30 to 40% of it. So if you can imagine that amount of money coming through a structured investment and other activities. But again, the little you see in that 20 billion is just something coming in from money to chop, money to solve problems, to sustain the people they have at home. And then I know they have a whole lot of larger savings overseas, which they are ready to bring into Nigeria with a government that is credible, that is prudent, that upholds the ethos of democracy, which you also mentioned as part of the problem that is Dikeora.
All right, Doc, I've also taken time to look at the items, in your 10-point agenda. And of course, the blueprint looks promising. But if you eventually become governor of Anambra State, implementing these agenda might look difficult, in the absence of peace. Considering what is happening, the current security crisis brewing in the south eastern part of the country, what's your strategy for security?
Thank you very much. I just want to note that every single point in that 10-point agenda, it's something I can confidently tell you that I am already doing one way or the other in my own individual capacity as a private citizen within my own private sector platform. If you talk about job creation, if you talk about empowerment, and on, and even providing infrastructure. But you see, there's only so much you can do as an individual. So, and that's why for me, who has been blessed and by God's grace doing my thing in the public sector, is only looking for a bigger platform to do this to affect larger populace and to the glory of God. So we're just looking for a opportunity to bequeath legacy. On the security aspect of it, it's so sad. It's a national issue. At some point, we thought we were insulated by it in Anambra State. But if you look at it, we have in our security agenda a conventional and unconventional way of keeping it calm. We think that security today is not about shooting and killing. It must be with stick and carrot. A lot of youths are not employed. They have gone to school, and what they come out of school is not those things that give them quality education and then give them the right orientation and values to be responsible citizens. That's why the reorientation issue is very key in our point. Because when you say people are restive because they don't have jobs, there have been people who went to school in the past without jobs, but they knew it is wrong. The society abhors an act that is not decent. That engaging in something that brings a very bad reputation to your family is a no-no. That's the value we all grow in. So that is very critical. Then when you come into this, I think that when there are jobs for these youth, if you see some of these people that are doing this could be managers, they could be engineers, they could be lawyers, but they don't have engagement. So I can imagine that if they are staff of NMPC, staff of FMPA, with huge salary on top of their table, with prospects of growth, they will not be in those places shooting gun and erasing police station. So I think for us, one strong way to fight all these things, first of all, is to ensure that we bring vibrancy in our economic activities, attract investment through government policy that will ginger the economy, job will be created, youth will be employed, but more importantly, it might not be making sense now. Our study has shown reorientation. We must have to go back to Anambra, to our old values and virtues, because everything in those values abhors this act. And when everybody is involved, it will help to contain
Doc,
that.
having drawn up this 10 points agenda, did you also take into consideration, or do you factor in the financial implication of driving and implementing this 10-point agenda? Because over the years, we've seen politicians during campaigns, make a lot of promises, and when they get into power, they start telling us about, financial limitations, shortfall in revenue allocation to the states and the rest. Have you factored in the financial implication, and what's your strategy for IGR to complement what Anambra State is getting from the center?
That's interesting. This is called codenamed project within the Anambra. A project in itself is well conceived, it's well planned. Before you come up with a project, you should have design, you should have source of funding. We have all that factored in. Anambra is one state we believe that can survive and be vibrant, viable, without even subvention from Abuja. Trust me, the programs we have will sustain itself. Now, the IGR in Anambra State is very minimal. We have already some discussions and engagement with direct foreign investment that is coming from an overseas country, which we have to review soon. There are certain fundings that are available for a government that is credible, that is transparent, that meets all the requirements of international scrutiny to assess. We're going to look into that, because infrastructural investment that you need to bring back economic activities is huge funds. It's not going to come from IGR. So for me, coming from a private sector, I know where the money is. We're not even going to look at the past. When we come in, we close the book of the past and look into the future. So we're going to run it like a typical business, well-planned, program, budgeted, and source of finance available. So Anambra is viable. We can raise a lot of money within that economy. We can create employment and investment environment that will attract a whole lot of funds into Anambra State. People are waiting. We've done that in the past. If you look at before this democracy, a lot of economic activities were taking place in Anambra State. They were not dependent actually in government, but today, because of the turnaround of events, our demographic has been distorted. A lot of people are outside Anambra State for one reason or the other. We're going to bring them back. Anambrarians are biggest investors in different aspects of life in Nigeria. Real estate, you know what I mean? Agriculture, and even industrialization. You go to Abuja, they are here. Go to Lagos, they are there. So and Anambra had huge market that is coming from all over the world. You know, the Newis of this world, the Onitsas and all that. We just need to go back and make it better.
Yes,
They were the glorious things that have made Anambra great.
Dr. Okonkwo, how do you make it better? Because I've heard these arguments and these conversation in different forums,
Yes.
especially involving Anambra people, and they talk about the potential of Anambra State to be one of the frontline economic hubs of Nigeria, properly positioned. I mean, you talked about the Newi now and Onitsha, and we know the potential of those places. How do you make it much better? Just, I think 2 years ago, the Anambra State investment body said they've been able to raise about 26 billion in terms of IGR as of December 2019. Do you have any aspiration or strategy to double that? Because that's also very important. And how do you intend to do that?
Well, you see, 22 billion, 26 billion, if that's correct, is barely 2.17 billion a month. I think the number has potential for 5 times that. We can compete with Lagos in Nigeria, but that can only come if you're able to bring back productive population back to Anambra State. If you increase business activities. Before now, we had about 60 industries functioning actively in the area. Today, they're not up to 5 because of the general economic situation, one, and then internal issues in Anambra State. Government of ours will be able to look into these things and see how to bring them back to work. The government of a state should be interested in what happens to their citizens' investment, especially when we're looking more of supporting the private sector to create jobs. When these things are running and they are vibrant, then we will rely on taxes from income from those companies, and then even staff they will employ. We know that you need infrastructures like power, like all that. Having said that, in my own community of Gidi, for instance, I've been able to, in that scale, work out a steady power supply.
How did you do that?
Oh yeah, it's a magic. If you come into that with what is existing in Anambra, that is with EEDC, we have 90% of power supply for those businesses, especially the hotels, the industries, that are able to install within their premises transformer. So it's targeted at those people. I did that to stabilize economic activities in my hometown. I'm going now to use that to extrapolate in other aspects of Anambra State. In a larger scale, the opportunities are there. Power today, I know, for instance, that the CEPLAT will be concluding their gas issue in Uguta area. NMPC is already working on distribution of that gas supply as a new source of energy in Anambra State. We're going to tap into that. We're going to go into engagement with EADC that is ready, you know, because I have studied the situation. They have enough power to give. But they just have to work on the infrastructures and the facilities that will distribute the power and ensure that those areas that the power go into are able to pay them. We can partner.
And that those areas are really the industrial zones.
And those areas that are really industrial. Because we are in Anambra, we're going to create industrial clusters. And with that, in different senatorial zones, and we're going to engage the discourse. You know, we have to make the necessary government investment. And where you need the government guarantee for the discourse to make investment, we sign off an off-take with them to go and get the money. It's not a rocket science. I'm a private sector. I know how to source funds to invest in the critical area of business. So I really think that we have a great plan for that. And then with the industries revitalizing and with the new business environment that is conducive and comfortable for investors, we expect more businesses to come back into Anambra State. And that economy will grow and government will surely benefit from that. And then we're going to look into our budgeting system.
We'll talk about that when we come back. Let's just go on the short break. We'll see have Dr. Obiora Okonkwo here with us in the studio, talking about his prospects and agenda for Anambra State if he becomes the governorship candidate of the PDP and eventually the governor. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short moment.
Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day, he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day, he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day, he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mum. Phew! That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo, packed with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
All right, Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, a PDP aspirant ahead of the Anambra Governorship election, is still very much with us in the studio as he continues to unfold his development agenda for the people of Anambra State, that if he eventually becomes the governor of the Southeast State. Dr. Okonkwo, let's talk a bit about politics and perhaps the hurdles you might scale through or you have to go through if you eventually pick the PDP tickets in June. The All Progressive Grand Alliance, that's the APGA, the incumbent party in the state, has been in power for 16 years. And the party is saying and still insisting on consolidating its political dominance in Anambra State beyond March 2022. Does that constitute any roadblock for you? Can the People's Democratic Party, create an upset this time around in November?
Well, I think the case of Anambra for PDP will just simply be like possessing their possession. Anambra has always been a PDP state. It's just to get their acts together, which we're already in the right track to doing, and then take Anambra State. Good luck to APC that will try to. But I think that with what is already on ground, it is obvious that PDP eventually will be able to overcome the obstacles and then take over the state. As of today, if you look at the program of activities of PDP, no single political party has even issued any timetable for Anambra State. I think they're confused because PDP is doing it right this time. And more importantly, I think they're probably busy searching for the right candidate that will match me. So that's probably what is. That's probably what, because they have not started selling forms, they have not started screening, but it's almost 2 months after INEC announced the timetable for Anambra State. So we are already topping the agenda, and I think if we keep the pace, our victory is secure. APC, it's okay. I think that Anambra people will make the right choice when the time comes.
Yeah. Well, what do you think has been responsible for PDP's ability to clinch the governorship of the state in the past 16 years?
Many factors. But summarily, I think that when PDP was in the center, a whole lot of people were very comfortable enjoying the federal might and controlling the affairs of Anambra State from Abuja. But today, it's obvious to each and every one of them that center already has issue, and PDP is not in contention.
Clarify for me, Dr. Okonkwo, whether it's a myth or it's reality. There's this assumption that there's some kind of unwritten or unspoken agreement that Anambra would remain APGA. And then whether you are PDP would support you during the presidency. But you support us to ensure that we remain APGA and stay APGA. Is that a myth or a reality? Because I understand that over the years, whether it was the PDP, in fact, let's even talk from the years of the PDP administration.
Yes.
The PDP government has always had very cordial relationships with the APGA administration in the state, even though he sponsors candidates on his party to contest the election. At the end of the day, you realize that it just seemed to be a matter of formality or ceremony that they fielded a candidate. But that forcefulness in contesting and on sitting an Anambra governor doesn't seem to take place.
Well, I can't rule out certain political understandings in the past, but as of today, it's all over. PDP is going for a win in Anambra State, and the joker is me.
All right, Dr. Okonkwo, what's your position on the zoning principle as it affects Anambra State?
Well, as it is today in the party, zoning is a long decided matter. PDP has never zoned, and they are not zoning. You talk about zoning if you are in power. You now might say, after me, then it will be this person. But having been out of power for 16 years, all PDP has been trying to do is to get back to power with known problems which you've just mentioned, the myth or reality as it may be. So if you see a typical opposition party facing a forthcoming election like this, they're only looking at gaps. They're looking at strategy and tactics to win and not dwelling on where to win from. So PDP as of today, just like one question that was constant in the screening yesterday, if you have the ticket, how can you win for us? That's PDP. There was no issue of what zone. Nobody asked you which zone you are coming from.
But should the political elites and even those in the PDP downplay this strong advocacy that seeks to, rotate power among the three geopolitical zones of the states: Anambra North, the Anambra South, and the Anambra Central?
Well, I think that is a narrative created by a group of people who thinks it might give them advantage in some parties. Abga is going south. There's not supposed to be any debate about it. It's by their choice. And all Abga is doing, Abga is sponsoring this campaign about zoning. And the only reason for this campaign about zoning is me. As it stands today, I am coming from Central. Central has the highest registered votes in Anambra State. And 25% of the votes in Central is in my local government, which is Idemili North. We're talking about 400 and something thousand votes, way ahead of any other local government.
Let's look at how, power has been distributed since 1999 in Anambra State. In 1999, it was Anambra Central. That's Anambra Central has done 11 years with Peter Obi doing 8 and Chris Ngige 3, making it 11. Anambra North 8 years with Governor Obiora, whose tenure will elapse next year, March or so, while the South has only done 4 years with Mbadinuju between 1999 and 2003. For equity and fairness, don't you think power should come back to the South, which has just had 4 years?
Well, you've just modeled up the leadership of all the political parties. But let it be known that those number of years you are calling are by default. They are not by zoning. Mbadinuju had 4 years. He could have had 8 years if he did well in the office. Do you understand what I'm saying? Peter Obi had 8 years, but he fought for it. It was not by zoning. When he lost the election, he didn't go to court and won his mandate, he wouldn't have been governor. Do you understand what I'm saying? And these years we are talking about, the people who were on top of political affairs in Anambra State are from South. They are the people who gave the ticket to Peter Obi, they are the people who gave the ticket to Ngige. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you are a kingmaker, you cannot be talking about marginalization and fairness or equity. So those people fought for it. The essence of zoning is that you say it's going to this senatorial zone. No other person contests from any other zone, right? And they already know where it's going after this. In all of the campaigns in Anambra State at every election, all the zones have contested. the people only emerge. And for us in PDP, which is internal affairs, we don't count the governance of any other political party in ours. So talking about ours. But in PDP, they have given tickets to South 3 times. Mbaniju 1997, Senator Andoba 2007, and again from the same local government from the same zone, Soludo 2010. That's straight to the South. North, Tony Warrior 2013, Oselo Kobaze 2017 from North. They did not get it by zoning. They fought for it. Money to money, work by work and all that. But in Central, we have had ticket only once. In PDP, that was to Dr. Ngige, right? So, and that ticket was also solely, you know, the drama and the tragedy, it was given solely from the South and taken away from the South. And by the judgment of Supreme Court, Ngige was never a governor. So I can say that PDP has given ticket only once to Central. So if you're talking about fairness and equity, to balance it, the ticket should come to Central. But again, that's not the issue. Now it is obvious, PDP has said they want the most capable and competent candidate with the capacity not only to win the election, but to deliver on the democratic expression.
What would you say to the comments attributed to the Secretary of the PDP in Anambra State, Okoli Akirika? I hope I got his name correct. And he talked about the party setting up a 15-man committee to champion emergence of a candidate from the South. And he strongly advocates for the zoning principles and says it is enshrined in the party's constitution and refers to Chapter 1, Section 7 of the party constitution.
That's fake news. He wouldn't have said that. One, issue of zoning is not discussed on the senatorial zone of a state.
He hasn't denied it. It's been in the media, frontline media, published it.
Well, I can tell you it's a fake news. If it is just to deny one, the meeting actually did not come to this conclusion, you know, and the party has spoken both in the federal, the NWC, in the zone and in the state. There was no zoning. You may have also been missing the authentic information that last 2 weeks, the whole party gathered in Anambra State.
Was he among them?
Oh, he was there. Where? He was where?
The gathering you're talking about.
Oh, yes. He was the national, the leaders of the party, but with Peter be present. And it was very clear. And everybody was made to understand the party is not zoning. In the words of Peter B, the party wants to win Anambra State. And they are looking for a candidate that is competent and capable to win. This matter is long settled and resolved. You have people from Central, from North, from South, who have purchased their ticket to run for the primary. So that news is fake. There was no issue. It is just some few people who are running on the basis of zoning that are continuing to bring it back. And I think that you should ignore that. Because the zone doesn't have the competence. It's not issue they have a mandate or competence to.
But as you rightly pointed out much earlier in this conversation, the party in power in Anambra State, that's APGA, is looking towards the Anambra South. You are one of the aspirants, you know, in the PDP from Anambra Central. Dr. Okonkwo, to what extent do you think zoning will shape the voting pattern in the November Anambra governorship elections?
Well, I think again, the issue, PDP has the best chance to win with me if I'm coming from Central. Central has the highest number of registered voters. If I come from the Central, I will be the only candidate from a major party from Central. You see, it's an open flank. If you want to score a goal in a football match, you have to look for a flank that is open. Then APGA has gone south. By default, YPP will be in south. By default, APC will be in south. So when you have 3 candidates emerging from south, scrambling for the least number of registered voters in South, because you have Central first, you have North second, and then South. They're already in disadvantage. And I can bet you, these are the parties, especially ABGA, that is sponsoring this zoning. Everything about zoning is probably how to...
In the course of your consultation,
Yeah.
Dr. Okonkwo, have you been able to reach, you know, your supporters or people from Anambra South? How are they perceiving your aspiration?
Well, we had a local government tour, and we put a winning item for the most acceptive, vibrant, and welcoming organized local government. Number one was from South, Agwacha. So we are stronger in the South than in most places. So those things do not really matter to people on the grassroots. A typical PDP member has been out of power for 16 years, and they know they're not going to this election with sentiment. Because they go with sentiment, they lose with sentiment. They want to win. I've been proven that I am the candidate that has the capacity and the ability to win for PDP, that has support across the zone. So I really think that those things, a typical Anambra is such a homogeneous society. You don't know how, when you move from one zone to the other. A typical voter do not even know what senatorial zone it belongs to. The issue of these zones just come as a new narrative for some people who want to fly the flag of the party by this corny way.
All right.
But the Anambra people, they really don't care. We made our research, and we're welcomed all over with love and sentiment that you are the man to go. But don't forget, you know it's a challenge to take power from a party that has been there for 16 years.
That's precisely
so
what we're going to, because
you have to go there with their best.
Yes.
You have to put their best foot forward.
I'm wondering what your assessment would be of the current administration in Anambra State. How far have they performed? And on what basis are you going to challenge their continued existence in the state?
Well, you know, I would want to believe that the government in power, they have done their best. But it's very obvious that their best has not been enough. Some time ago, when they were coming for second term, there was a very popular soundbite that if it's not broken, why fix it? So it was assumed by them that all is well. Today it's obvious to every Anambra person that it has broken, not only broken, but broken into pieces. We are coming with certain low-hanging fruits. We have developed an agenda with common sense, all right? And these things are things out of the needs, current needs of Anambra people. We're going to pursue that to give immediate impact and medium-term plan also to put things in the right perspective. ABGA has really been proven that at this stage they have outlived their usefulness in Anambra State. And I'm sure that they are ready to accept defeat when that is done. Anambra people will speak when the right time comes.
There's a billionaire problem in Anambra State, where billionaires, I think they said it's the state with the highest concentration of billionaires. We don't necessarily live there, but they have a lot of influence anytime election comes up, especially governorship election. They may not be interested in contesting the election themselves, but they may be interested in stopping whoever they do not like to contest the election. How do you intend to deal with these persons? And also, these billionaires are known as godfathers. They sponsor so many candidates. I do not know whether you have one yourself. And if you do, you might want to tell us and tell Nigerians who that person is.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've said severally that I don't have a godfather, but I have a father God. So father God is that Almighty Father. So that's one. Secondly, I don't think there is any billionaire in Anambra State that I don't have a personal relationship with. And I've consulted them fairly in this exercise. One thing constant is coming from them. Enough is enough in Anambra State. This time they have all resolved among themselves the leadership of Anambra must go to only that person who has shown he can handle the national resources by evident in what he has done for himself, that he can create jobs, do you understand what I'm saying, and then create economic activities that will create wealth in the state. And they must be evident from what he has done in his own personal activities. So it is a common resolve, and that's what they are looking for. And amongst the aspirants in all the parties, I am the only person that fit the task.
So you have billionaire godfathers? Not
no, they
Several.
don't have to be my godfather. I am a self-established and independent person. It's going to be very difficult for some people to accept that. But the reality is that they have also resolved they don't want a puppet, somebody who is being pushed here and there to suck up to people. Anambra is an independent-minded person to run the affairs of the. But again, any interest of any godfather might be of benefit. We are going to create a government that will benefit all. From wealth we create, from its engagement. Billionaires should bring back their billions to Anambra State and invest to make money. By the time we finish, if we don't make a billionaire a multi-billionaire, or make a millionaire a billionaire, we have not succeeded in governance. The aspect and the real essence of governance is to enable people to move from higher to highest and then to meet there. And Anambra people really don't need much. They need that governance, who I would say, look at me. I am an Anambrarian. This is what I've done for myself. That you can do spirit is what you need to put in Anambra people. And for you to be able to do that, for them to succeed, they must look at you that you have succeeded with that. You don't need lackeys anymore.
All right, Obiora Okonkwo, PhD, a business mogul, and of course an aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, ahead of the November Anambra governorship election. I want to say a very big thank you for your time this morning on Kakaki.